Welcome back to another episode of the Cycle Podcast, the show where we cover 4 trending MLB topics in 20 minutes or less. Joining me today is Caleb Williams, former college baseball player and current resident expert on the Boston Red Sox, who will be our team of the day today. We're also going to cover some news, free agent signings, some trade rumors, and have Caleb make some predictions. Caleb, how are you doing today?
Not too bad. It's good to be back.
Good. Well, glad to have you back. Let's get right into it. Fortunately, after what had been sort of a slow week and a half since our last episode, we had a few big signings over this last week, as well as one big extension. The A's extend Soderstrom on a 7-year, $86 million deal, which to me seems light, but at this stage of his career, being able to guarantee that kind of money may be the smart move. Guarantee yourself a job for 7 years, and at the end of that, he will still be young enough to probably go out and sign another pretty big contract if he performs. Do you think this really moves the needle for the A's at all, or is this just locking down their future? Would you expect them to do anything meaningful in the next few weeks to build on that?
I'm not sure. I could see them being one of those sneaky teams that comes in and grabs one of these big pitchers left on the board. I wouldn't call it a needle mover for them, but I think it's a good sign for things that come with them, just because they've got Kurtz, they've got Wilson, they got Butler, and maybe other guys on the way to pay. So I like it for them. It's a team friendly deal, which probably explains why they signed it. But I think it's good for both sides. Like you said, he can sign another contract probably when he's 29 or 30. So I like the move. I like Soderstrom as a player. It's a good sign for them.
Good. Yeah, so let's move on to the big stuff. I forget which of the 2 Japanese pitchers or players that signed this week were you really high on in the group text like months ago?
It was
that Imai? Okay, we'll start with him. Astros inked him on a 3-year, $63 million deal. His delivery and mechanics draw some comparisons to Luis Castillo. Not bad company to be in. But what interests me is he's one of the very few guys who can throw that backward slider, sort of like Trey Savage, his changeup that breaks opposite where it should. Pretty solid fastball mix. He only throws 4 pitches predominantly, I think, in the MLB level. He may have to work in another variation of his changeup. I know he throws the Vulcan change as well. Why do you like him so much? And can he be a real replacement for Framber Valdez? Can he move the Astros from a team that just missed to getting in 2026?
Yeah, I think if he's going to be what the league projected him to be coming out of Japan, I think he could be a great replacement for Framber. It's kind of almost like a prove it deal, like a 3-year deal with opt outs after every year, kind of like the Bregman deal this year. So I could see Imai just taking the league by storm, being a great pitcher for the Astros, and then opting out to get the big Yamamoto type contract. I
Do
do
you
think
think he's an upgrade over Valdez this year?
this year he has the potential to, but I'd say no, just because of the unproven stuff with Japanese guys coming over. You never really know how they're going to make that transition. But I think potentially he could be.
All right, the other guy coming out of Japan, speaking of players coming over, Okamoto on a 4-year, $60 million deal. He is a 30-year-old third baseman. Solid power in the MPB, can also play first and outfield, as well as his primary third base position. Obviously, in Toronto, you've got someone locked in at first base, but I could also see them giving Vladdy some more time as a DH with Okamoto there. You've got Ernie Clement, who can play multiple positions. Jimenez can play multiple positions. So I think this is a really, really smart deal for a team that was just shy of winning the World Series. He's versatile, though it does signal, for me, pretty much the end of Bo Bichette in Toronto. What were your thoughts on the deal? Like I said, it is a 4-year deal. And how do you think he performs? How does he shape up here in the MLB?
I liked Okamoto a lot more than Murakami just because of the floor. His floor is a lot better because of the bat to ball skills. He didn't have the swing and miss issues quite like Murakami did. He's a good right-handed bat. Yeah, I could see him being the kind of guy that hits 280 with 20, 25 homers. He looked good for Team Japan in the WBC in 2023. Hit the home run off of the U.S. Um, so I mean, he can hit quality pitching. He's proven that, and I could see him being a big bat for the Blue Jays and a very sneaky, underrated bat for the Blue Jays.
And an offense that has potential to be among the strongest in the MLB this year. I think it was a great add-on. They've also improved the pitching staff this offseason. So Toronto clearly in now, and they're in for the foreseeable future. Signing other guys, Cease on a 7-year deal, Okamoto on a 4-year deal. I think they are trying to lock in that prime of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. To be a competitive team. But with that, let's move on to the fun stuff. Let's make some more free agent predictions. So in our past offseason episodes, both myself and Josh have made some free agent predictions. Now we've got Caleb here. I'm going to have him do some. Are you okay with me just rapid firing off a few? You give me the team, then we talk it over a little bit?
Let's do it.
Let's start from the bottom. Cody Bellinger.
Cody Bellinger is kind of an interesting case because I know a lot of teams will like him. They'll want him to play first, could be play outfield, but ultimately, I think he goes back to the Yankees.
Yeah, they're from what I've seen, they're willing to make another offer should he receive an offer from another team. They've already made him what they say is a fair offer, but they're prepared to jump. Let's go with Bo Bichette. This is the interesting one. I think me and Josh disagreed on him. Let's see your take.
I've got Bichette ultimately to the Phillies. I think the Phillies are yet to make their big splash. They retained Kyle Schwarber, so I don't really count that. They need some right-handed power. Real Muto might not be coming back. Turner's not getting any older, and Nick Castellanos is either
Castellanos.
a corpse or on his way out. So
Yeah,
I think Bichette fits what they're trying to do there.
I like that a lot. Your boy, Alex Bregman.
I don't want to sound biased, but I think he's got to go back to the Red Sox. The Blue Jays could be a sneaky, scary option.
Just signed a
But
third baseman.
they're throwing money all over the place to anybody, so you can't count them out. The Diamondbacks, it's close to home. Don't know if he really wants to be on that team. And Boston just makes sense. He had a great year there. His swing works there. And according to Buster Olney, they've made a competitive offer. So
Okay.
we'll see.
I trust Buster. Framber Valdez.
Framber Valdez, I've been saying since the start of the offseason, I think he's going to the Cubs. I think he fits well for that ballpark. He's a ground ball pitcher. Um, Good infield defense there in Chicago will help him out big time. I think it would make a lot of sense because they need to go get one more big arm.
Yeah. See, I've always viewed him as a San Francisco Giant. I've thought he would fit perfect there. So I've been on Giants for a while now. They haven't made a lot of noise in free agency, so I'm starting to sway more toward your prediction. I do think he fits really well in Chicago. And finally, the big dog, Kyle Tucker.
The Kyle Tucker market's just been weird. The longer this goes on, the more I think he's going to get either a prove it deal or a short term high AAV deal. And I think the team that could do that is the New York Mets. I think they'd be willing to go give him a Bregman contract from last year, 3 years, 120 million, maybe 130 million for Tucker. But with his market not being what he probably had hoped, he was looking for a 10-year deal. I could see him dropping it down to 3 years and going and joining Juan Soto in the outfield there.
See, that's I've known that the Mets are probably the likely destination. I have liked him to Toronto. Toronto is, like you said, spending money with Okamoto coming in who can play a little outfield. I'm starting to sway away from Tucker over there. Now, I was Bichette to the Mariners, though I like him a lot to the Phillies. Like you said off the recording, that it's a team that's aging. Whole team is getting old, and they maybe have one or two more runs left in them. I like that a lot. Of all those signings, who do you think would have the biggest impact? Does Kyle Tucker make the Mets a World Series contender? We thought they were World Series contenders last year, and then they missed the playoffs altogether. So does he make up for some of the losses they've had?
I think he's got enough production in his bat to at least match what Pete Alonso was giving him. But what they've lost, I don't have full belief in Simeon to make a comeback this year. And Nimmo's gone, McNeil's gone, the whole core of that team's gone. It's a completely different identity. Tucker could help maybe shape a new culture there, although the Chicago media kind of started to hate him near the end. The biggest impact for me would be Bichette, uh, just because like I said, that right-handed bat that they need. They need youth. They need a guy who can come in and drive balls into the gap, get on base for the big guns, for Schwarber, for Harper, and I think he would make a big impact at the top of that order.
Yeah. And the more I think Bichette to the Phillies, the more I like it. So thank you for putting that in my brain. I've been so locked into him as a Mariner in that infield, but now I'm rooting for it. Bichette to the Phillies. We're calling it now. Today's episode of The Cycle is brought to you by SlabDynasty.com. Rip digital packs starting as low as just $25. Slab Dynasty offers the Choose Your Chase feature. This allows you to select your comfortable level of risk. You can, of course, chase big grails, or you can choose a higher floor with a little bit lower ceiling if that's what you're more comfortable with. Slab Dynasty will also buy back any cards you don't want to keep at 92% of fair market value. Let's rip a $50 steel level pack so you can see it for yourself. All right, here we go. Click to reveal right on your phone. Fernando Tatis, first Bowman, PSA 10. That is valued at $70. Personally, I'm going to move that one to my vault so I can keep it for myself, have it delivered later. Check out slabdynasty.com and use the code CYCLE20 for $20 off your first purchase. So far, this has been an off season where, unlike recent off seasons, where I say the further it goes on in the free agent market, the more likely I am to see trades. I start thinking, okay, well, these teams didn't get the free agent they want. Let's look at the trade market. This season, I blame the Orioles for overpaying on Boz. Now every team seems to want a king's ransom for whatever they've got. The Cardinals reportedly asking extremely high on Brendan Donovan. Royals have made an offer. Other teams have inquired, and they say they want top prospects and some MLB ready talent, which I think for a guy like Brendan Donovan, who just recently sort of had his breakout, way too high. Marte, we now see general manager and front office saying that he's more likely to stay in Arizona after maybe a month ago. People were thinking a trade may be imminent. Obviously, they say they're not going to shut down any potential suitors, but nobody has been willing to meet their asking price. Another one, Freddie Peralta, Braves are in, though their farm system is fairly short at this moment, and they don't have much MLB talent they're ready to give away. They are reportedly out with the Dodgers, Mets, and Yankees in on Peralta. You were a guy who was talking about Marte to Boston, maybe even just 3 weeks ago. Where are you at on that? Do you still think that's a possibility? Do you think Marte gets moved at all?
I really don't. At the end of the day, I think what they're asking is fair. Marte is a top 15, 20 player in the league, best second baseman in the league by far. Um, but I don't think any team is willing to sell the farm for a 32-year-old.
Yeah.
Not to say that he's not going to continue to be a great player, but you just never know with the age getting up, the injury risk keeps going up. I would have loved him in Boston. They're asking for Peyton Tolley and Brian Bayo and more. So I don't, if that's the price you're asking, I don't see a competitive team giving up what they're looking for.
Yeah, I agree, and I wouldn't. Like I said, Brendan Donovan, another second baseman, asking a lot for. Teams are, however, valuing some diversity in the field. Guys that can play multiple positions, a utility type of guys. Brendan Donovan is that. He can play multiple positions. but I don't think his production meets the value you would get out, or sorry, the value that they're asking for him. Um, One that really interests me is Freddie Peralta. Obviously, you have a Cy Young caliber guy on the market, a few big teams in. However, Milwaukee, a team that was just one of the best in the MLB last year, why are we looking to move core pieces when they should be adding? I guess that's Milwaukee for you. Where do you like him? Because I thought the Braves would have been a great match. They were saying pitching, pitching, pitching at the winter meetings is what they're looking for. They add Suarez to bolster the back of that bullpen. Now you'd say the logical next step is going after a top end starter. Do you think he would work out there? And if not, where would you like to see him?
I think the Brewers need to go for it again, defend their NL Central crown. I wouldn't trade him if I were them, but it's the Brewers. They traded Hader in the middle of a playoff race. They traded Burns 2 years ago when they were still looking like a playoff contender. So I don't think that they necessarily should move Peralta. If they do, maybe at the deadline, if they're not in first place or you're pushing a wild card spot. But I would like him with the Orioles. He seems like a bona fide ace. The Orioles are looking to build, and they've got the lineup for it. But their number one starters,
Shane
Boz,
Baz?
Kramer,
Yeah.
or I don't know. They don't have a bona fide ace. They've got a bunch of fives, maybe a couple threes in there. I
Mhm.
think he would fit really well in Baltimore.
Yeah, and they just moved Grayson Rodriguez after they were talking about their main weakness was pitching. They need to fix that. Um, and they still have some prospect capital left in that organization, even after shipping out a ton to bring in Shane Baz. Um, I would like to see Freddie Peralta as a Yankee. I don't know why. I think he sort of matches their mold. Maybe because I think of him with Devin Williams, and Devin Williams was a Yankee. But I think the Yankees are that legitimate ace away. Can Cole come back 100%? If he does, then you have Cole and Freed. If you're not sure how Cole recovers, Freddie Peralta will be an outstanding replacement, even just for the beginning of the season if Cole wasn't ready. And if he was, can you imagine a three-headed monster of Peralta, Cole, and Max Fried would probably wreak havoc on the league. But with that, let's move on to the team I know you want to talk about. You don't want to hear anything about the Yankees. Let's move on to our dedicated Red Sox segment. So, with Caleb on and our team of the week being the Boston Red Sox, I'm not going to spend too much time talking. Caleb, if you woke up tomorrow and you were now the GM of the Red Sox, how would you feel about the moves that have been made so far? And what would you do the remainder of the offseason to turn the Red Sox into a legitimate World Series favorite? You've got 4 minutes and change. Go.
I feel good about what they've done so far. I wouldn't call it a successful offseason just yet. They've replaced the guys that they've needed to replace for the most part. Um, Obviously, you got to bring Bregman back. That's priority number one. That was your leader. That was a potential Gold Glover. He was hitting over 300 with, if not over a 900 OPS. He was close to it before he got hurt. Uh, the guy cared so much about the team that he came back early, played through a lot of pain, and it showed with his performance after the All Star break. So I think if he stays healthy, he'll get back to where he was in the first half last year before the injury. So I think he's priority number one. I don't care if you got to overpay for him. You're the Boston freaking Red Sox. You can afford it. John Henry's worth billions. He needs to go spend the money on Bregman. That is the top priority. If that gets done, I'm content with the offseason. I'm calling it successful. I'm calling it upgraded. It's an upgraded roster, whether the complainers on Twitter like it or not. I still think there does need to be some work done, though. You can always go get that number two in the rotation. Sonny Gray is a solid option. I don't love him as a number two. I'd love him as a number three. If, like we mentioned, Freddie Peralta could be an option. I don't see them making another big trade for a starting pitcher. Um, they could always spend the money on Framber Valdez, which also I don't see happening if they're going to bring back Bregman. But a number two should be at least looked at. Even a Zach Gallen, a guy who's struggled last year but can pitch like a number two. You've seen him pitch like a number two. That is a very solid option. the bullpen needs to at least have one more addition. I, a lot of the big guys are gone in the bullpen off the market, so you might need to get creative. Maybe hope somebody is that bargain bin pickup like a Brennan Bernardino who you traded. Um, so I'd like to see something done with the bullpen. They let go of a few of the guys, but you've got some depth starters that you can work into the rotation, like a Cutter Crawford, Patrick Sandoval, maybe even Peyton Tolley if he's not fully ready for the rotation. He'd be an electric back end reliever. You've got a lot of options in house to work with, but I would like to see some external stuff done. Um, you could always get one more bat, but I think I'd call it Bregman and a bullpen arm are the priorities, and then
Are you
hopefully
still
go
in
get a
on?
number two.
Are you still in on a trade for Duran or with involving Duran if it meant bring in a number two?
The fact that they've needed a trade an outfielder for the last year because they've had that logjam tells me that they're not getting what they really want for Duran, which is probably a number two starter or another big bat. I don't think teams are valuing him quite like the Red Sox are. I know they're putting a lot of value into that 2024 season where he had an 8 WAR, and I think the teams looking to trade for him are putting him in that 2025 value, which was still a solid year, 4 WAR season. He's still a dynamic player at the top of the lineup, but kind of the same deal with Marte, but obviously not as dynamic.
I
Um,
wanted him I wanted him to Kansas City. I thought he would have been
I,
great for us.
we heard that talked about a lot online and on the
Mm.
rumor mill was that the Red Sox wanted Cole Reagans, the Royals wanted Duran plus stuff for Cole Reagans, which it's beyond me why the Red Sox wouldn't do it unless they're asking for a Franklin Arias or a Peyton Tolley or Connolly Early,
Yeah, we wanted
along
Peyton
with Jaron
Tolley.
Duran. So that kind of makes me think that's where the Royals were thinking if the Red Sox are not unloading him because at this point I know they say they can keep him, but there's still a logjam there, whether you like it or not. I think you got to get rid of somebody. You got to
Mm.
make a trade for some value for a Jaron Duran. I'd prefer not, but Willie Abreu could be in there. Matsutake Yoshida, but he won't get you the value you're looking for because of the contract and the liability in the field. But I don't know. We'll see with these guys. I think Duran will be in Boston on opening day. If you got to make me predict that, but something's just got to be. Just do something. I don't know. Bring back Bregman and do something. Address the rotation. Address the bullpen. Just do something else. You
Yeah,
don't sign Bregman and call it an off season. Just be active. You don't have to
yeah.
throw $100 million at somebody. Just be active. Improve your team.
There's always a few guys available when we get awfully close to spring training. You say, I didn't expect them to still be available. We'll see if the Red Sox start picking at that group as we get closer to playing some meaningful baseball. But with that, we are out of time. Caleb, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate your time, appreciate you chatting ball with us. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications, leave a comment, leave a like. Anything from you, Caleb, before we get out of here?
All good. Go Sox. Bring back Bregman.
Go Royals. We'll see you next time.